on issues from the environment, on the economy, on Operation Vulindlela Phase 2. On the 7th of May 2025, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched Phase 2 of the Operation Vulindlela, or OV Phase 2, the government's reforms program aimed at driving inclusive economic growth that creates jobs. The OV Phase 2 will oversee the conclusion of reforms which started in the 6th administration in the areas of energy, water, logistics, and telecommunications, and introduces new focus areas in the local government system to improve delivery of basic services and in spatial planning. Government business partnership. Cabinet welcomed the outcomes of the progress review meeting of the Government Business Partnership Initiative. The partnership focuses on supporting the implementation of key reforms and priority initiatives aimed at driving economic growth and job creation. Some of the progress made include the development of the National Wheeling Framework, the Transnet Improvement Plan, and the Electronic Travel Authorization Visa. The Priority Action Plan for the next steps has been adopted, and joint teams will continue to monitor progress and resolve bottlenecks that will be attended to in every 6 weeks. My apologies. The Transformation Fund call for comments. Cabinet has noted the interest in the Transformation Fund and encourages South Africans to actively participate in the consultation process as announced by the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. The implementation of the Transformation Fund will advance our constitutional commitment to economic redress and transformation as part of the reversing of the skewed policies of the apartheid era. Comments may be sent to the DTIC, and contact details will be found on their website, www.dtic.gov.za. Quarterly Labour Force Survey. Cabinet noted the Statistics South Africa's Labour Force Survey, which shows a rise in unemployment to 32.9% in the first quarter of 2025 from 31.9% in the final quarter of last year. And Stats SA explains that this is also contributed by the number of new entrants to the markets as students graduate from their higher education training. 5 of the 10 industries that were tracked by Stats SA recorded employment increases, particularly in transport and finance. However, most jobs were lost in the trade and construction sectors, and this is because of the holiday period as well. Cabinet remains committed to driving economic growth that creates jobs. South Africa is a proud nation. South Africa was named the 7th most desirable country to visit globally in the 2024 Wanderlust Reader Travel Awards, and we were awarded gold in the wildlife and nature category. South Africa also received a title of the world's friendliest nation in Remitly's Big 5 personality test, highlighting the warmth and hospitality of South Africans, and the city of Cape Town was also ranked as the 5th most desirable city globally. Congratulations to the city of Cape Town. On international matters, working visit to Cote d'Ivoire. Cabinet welcomed the President's working visit to Cote d'Ivoire, which coincided with the 12th edition of the Africa CEO Forum on the 12th to the 13th of May 2025. The visit also consolidated existing bilateral relations between the two countries. President Ramaphosa held a bilateral meeting with His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, to discuss matters of mutual interest, and both of them committed to strengthening bilateral ties and to increase trade between the two countries. G20. South Africa continues to host a series of high-level G20 group meetings in preparation for the G20 summit in November 2025 under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. The following meetings were held during the month of May. And the first one is the G20 Financial Inclusion and Women Empowerment Conference on 6th to 9th May 2025 in the Northwest, which sought to influence future G20 policy through the introduction of guidelines framework for mainstreaming women priorities, ensuring women's financial empowerment, and ensuring that women's financial empowerment remains central to the global institutional and economic reforms. Also, the second G20 Culture Working Group session was held on 5th to 6th of May 2025 in Gauteng, and this discussed shaping global cultural policies with far-reaching social and economic implications. It focused on aligning priorities to Agenda 2063, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and protecting heritage as a human right. The third Health Working Group meeting, which was held virtually on the 8th and the 9th of May 2025, and this focused on the healthcare workforce, which is the foundation for health systems, and the achievement of universal health coverage, health security, equity, and inclusive growth. The second Tourism Working Group meeting, which was held on the 11th to 13th of May 2025 in KwaZulu-Natal, and this deliberated on the G20 tourism priorities to drive sustainable tourism growth and the development of a G20 tourism action plan. And lastly is the second Task Force 1 meeting, which on inclusive economic growth, industrialization, employment, and reduced inequality, which was held virtually from the 14th to the 15th, which is taking place now actually, 14th to 15th May 2025. On U.S. refugee assessment, the decision by the United States to confer refugee status to a group of Afrikaner South Africans is misinformed, as they do not fit the definition of refugees as set out in the 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 protocol. Cabinet further reiterated that allegations of discrimination are unfounded and do not meet the threshold of persecution required under both domestic and international refugee law. Moreover, the South African Police Service statistics on farm-related crimes do not support allegations of violent crime or genocide targeted at farmers generally or any racial grouping. Cabinet refused the narrative by the government of the United States of America and remains open to constructive engagement to share a better and common understanding over these matters. Withdrawal of the South African National Defence Forces from the DRC. Cabinet was updated on the phased withdrawal of the South African National Defence Force from the Eastern DRC following the termination of the mandate of the SAMI DRC. The decision followed extensive diplomatic engagements and the AU, SADC, and EAC initiatives to encourage a negotiated settlement between the Congolese. Government commends the commitment shown by the South African National Defence Force members who served with honour, pride and commitment to promote the AU agenda of silencing the guns under very challenging circumstances. On governance, the digital transformation roadmap of the South African government. Cabinet welcomed the launch of the digital transformation roadmap of the South African government, which is part of government's plans to improve service delivery and drive economic growth through investments in digital innovations. The roadmap, which is part of OV Phase 2, sets out a focused path to modernize delivery of government services through investment in digital public infrastructure. From the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security, on the Judicial Commission of Inquiry to investigate TRC cases, Cabinet welcomed the establishment of a Judicial Commission of Inquiry to establish whether attempts were made to prevent the investigation or prosecution of apartheid-era crimes referred to, by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to the National Prosecution Authority. The establishment of the Commission of Inquiry is the outcome of a settlement discussion in a court application brought by the families of victims of the apartheid-era crimes. Through this commission, President Ramaphosa is determined that the true facts be established and the matter be brought to finality. On crime, Cabinet commends continuing SABC operations that are aimed at preventing and combating GBVF-related crimes and led to the arrest of 224 suspects for rape as well as 5 suspects for attempted rape. Amongst those arrested on allegations of rape from the 5th of May to the 11th of May include a SABC trainer, which is very unfortunate, and Nkosi from KwaZulu-Natal, which is also unfortunate because these two categories of people are entrusted with protecting communities, and a 15-year-old boy in Mpumalanga. Additionally, 148 suspects were arrested for attempted murder, 256 suspects were arrested for dealing in drugs, 2,841 suspects were arrested for being in possession of drugs, and 86 hijacked and stolen vehicles were recovered. Furthermore, 74 explosives mostly used in the illegal mining and cash-in-transit robberies were seized by Northwest Police. The South African Police Services continue to intensify its operations to remove illegal firearms to ensure safer communities. Every week, SABC seizes no less than 100 firearms throughout all corners of the country. On the fight against GBVF, Cabinet noted the decision of the National Prosecuting Authority to appeal the acquittal of Timothy Omotoso and his 2 co-accused in the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court in Gqeberha. Cabinet approved a 90-day intensification program against GBVF by the JCPS cluster. This is a short-term intervention meant to give a boost to the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on GBVF. The plan identifies 19 focus areas and specific tangible deliverables to be implemented in the 90 days with an aim to shift and reverse the upward trend of GBVF in the country. The NEDJOINS has established a priority committee consisting of 8 focus streams. The priority committee has identified 6 agent and impactful interventions to be implemented in the 90 days, which include prevention, the prevention work stream, which is focusing on education and awareness for behavioral change for all South Africans. The enforcement, care and support work stream, which must ensure the strengthening of the criminal justice system so that perpetrators are held accountable. The fixing the legal and regulatory framework stream so that we can achieve better outcomes in the system, and tighter and efficient management of data and information to strengthen efficiency in the integrated justice system. Communication partnership and community mobilization work stream to ensure that the whole of government, civil society and citizens work together for better outcomes against the scourge of GBV, and the harnessing of resources, both financial and human resource, to ensure that we are better organized as society to fight the scourge of GBV. Updates to Cabinet. Provision of clean water to Hammanskraal. Cabinet received an update on the ongoing intervention to ensure the provision of clean drinking water to the community of Hammanskraal. The Department of Water and Sanitation appointed Magales Water in 2023 to construct a package plant to address water supply challenges in the Hammanskraal area. The package plant is being constructed in 4 modules, and the first module was completed in November 2024 and started supplying water in some areas, and the plan is to complete the remaining modules by end of August 2025, but with varying completion dates before then. So the other modules are one is going to be completed now, end of May, I think that's module 2, and then module 3 will come in, I think, in June, and then the last module will come in end of August 2025. In terms of the program of the Department of Water and Sanitation. Interventions to address water challenges in Mfuleni local municipality. Cabinet received a progress report on the implementation of Water Services Act Section 63, intervention in Mfuleni local municipality. There has been a problem of sewage spillage into communities in Mfuleni for a very long time. We are all aware of that. The Department of Water and Sanitation plans to spend over 7 billion in the next 7 years to address the Mfuleni water challenges, including the upgrades and refurbishment of existing water treatment works. Substantial progress have been made to date, which include unblocking of blocked sewer lines, replacement of collapsed sewer lines, refurbishment of pump stations, and assisting the municipality with vehicles, trucks, tailbees, and security for its water and sanitation infrastructure. This work has resulted in major reduction in sewer spillages in communities of Mfuleni, as well as an improvement in the levels of effluent from the wastewater treatment works. On Cabinet decisions, draft national policing policy. Cabinet approved the draft national policing policy, which outlines government's broad plans to address shortcomings in the mandate of the South African Police Services to combat crime. The NPP will address challenges such as inadequate police stations, capacity issues, and ensure that infrastructure is based on proper norms and standards. Key policy proposals include creating professional and quality policing, providing efficient and effective policing service delivery, improving legitimacy and trust between communities and the police, and building a strong and ethical leadership, management and governance architecture within the SAPS. Comprehensive civil aviation policy. Cabinet approved the draft comprehensive civil aviation policy for public comments. The policy promotes the development of an efficient and productive aviation industry which can compete in a rapidly changing global environment. The policy proposes measures to improve safety and security air navigation services, airport infrastructure, and quality of aviation services, amongst others, whilst contributing to economic growth. Critical Mineral Strategy for South Africa. Cabinet approved the Critical Mineral Strategy for South Africa. This strategy aims to maximize the country's potential in the global market of critical minerals, particularly those crucial for the country's just energy transition plan and the ones the country holds comparative advantage on. These include the PGMs, lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, which are vital for technologies like electric vehicles, renewable energy, and other green initiatives. Key pillars of the strategy focus on exploration and beneficiation, investment, localization, streamlining regulations, fostering innovation in mining technologies, building workforce skills, improving transport and logistics infrastructure, and incentivizing investment. The strategy further recognizes the importance of collaboration with other countries to develop the potential of South Africa's critical mineral sector. On bills, General Family Laws Amendment Bill of 2025, Cabinet approved the introduction of the General Family Laws Amendment Bill of 2025 to Parliament. The amendments seek to strengthen the constitutionality of family laws and propose amendments to the Divorce Act of 1979, Act number 70, the Matrimonial Property Act of 1984, and the Mediation of Certain Divorce Matters Act of 1987. The bill seeks to protect the constitutional rights of parties to marriages out of community of property, and particularly women's rights, equality, access to courts, and the rights of children. The Extradition Bill, Cabinet approved the submission of the Extradition Bill to Parliament for further processing. The bill seeks to amend the current Extradition Act of 1962, Act number 67, which is outdated. The act is not in line with the current act is not in line with the Constitution of the Republic and modern extradition practices, and it does not cater for all procedures being followed internationally. The bill intends to strengthen the legal framework to give effect to the extradition of persons who are accused or convicted of crime to and from South Africa and foreign states and international entities. It clarifies the role of magistrates in extradition proceedings and provides for provisional arrest, surrender of a person sought by an international entity in respect of international crimes such as genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Amendment Bill 2025, Cabinet approved the submission of the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Amendment Bill to Parliament. The purpose of the bill is to amend the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Act of 1996, Act number 75, to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of international legal cooperation in criminal matters. This bill will strengthen the processes and mechanisms for international cooperation in criminal matters, such as evidence gathering and sentence execution between South Africa and other countries. The bill will also address legal issues related to extradition and the confiscation and transfer of proceeds of crime. Mineral Resources Development Bill of 2025, Cabinet approved the publication of the Mineral Resources Development Bill of 2025 for public comments. The bill aims to enhance investor confidence by removing red tape and providing regulatory certainty to attract and retain investment. It is part of the amendments to the existing Mineral and Petroleum Resources Act of 2002, Act number 28. The bill aims to address key regulatory gaps, streamlining licensing processes, ensure equitable distribution of mining benefits, promote local processing and manufacturing industries by ensuring that more raw minerals are transformed into higher value products within the Republic of South Africa. The bill introduces a licensing regime for artisanal and small-scale mining operations, thereby enhancing economic growth. Furthermore, the amendments seek to strengthen regulatory measures to combat unlawful activities while ensuring clear prohibitions and enforcement mechanisms in relation to illegal mining. On appointments, all appointments are subject to the verification of qualifications and relevant security clearances. Cabinet approved the appointment of Dr. Mlungisi Bekizizwe Gabriel Cele as the Director General at the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. The appointment of Dr. Sabelo is the extension of contract of Dr. Sabelo Siyabonga Sandile Buthelezi as the DG of the Department of Health. Approve the appointment of Mr. Takalani Lakiramaru as the Deputy Director General Civil Oversight and Strategic Partnerships at the Department of Civilian Secretariat for the Police Service. Mr. Patrick Dlamini as the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Investment Corporation, PIC. Mr. Mokhema Mungane as the CEO of the Inkomati Usutu Catchment Management Agency. Mr. Ufense Ntutang as the CEO of Mahalis Water. And Cabinet also approved the appointments to fill vacancies of non-executive directors to the Board of the Development Bank of Southern Africa. The appointments of Mr. David Malimula Makura and Ms. Lynette Milne. On events, upcoming conferences, the hosting of the 27th International Criminal Police Organization African Regional Conference. This is Interpol. Cabinet approved for the SABS to host the 27th Interpol African Regional Conference from 27th to 29th August 2025. Interpol currently has 196 member states, and hosting the African Regional Conference will assist South Africa to build closer working relationships with other law enforcement agencies on the continent. Hosting this conference gives South Africa an opportunity to engage with countries on the African continent on critical issues involving crime. These engagements have a potential to produce an agreement on regional response to increasing threats of transnational organized crime and terrorism. Approximately 550 law enforcement senior officials from 54 countries are expected to attend the event, and this will also contribute economically to the country. Hosting of the 96th Interpol Annual General Assembly in South Africa. Cabinet approved the hosting of the Interpol Annual General Assembly in South Africa from 2028 onwards. It will mean we'll be a host for a bit of a while from 2028. Hosting this Interpol Annual General Assembly presents South Africa with an opportunity to assert its leadership both regionally and internationally. Furthermore, hosting the Annual General Assembly will be a significant step towards reinforcing South Africa's commitment to regional and international cooperation in the fight against crime. The hosting is testimony to the country's commitment to being a responsible global nation committed to fighting all forms of crime. The State of Readiness for the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium of South Africa, SIDSSA 2025. Cabinet was appraised about the state of readiness, for the convening of the SIDSSA, an infrastructure investment summit that brings together a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including investors, financial institutions, policymakers, and other critical partners to drive South Africa's infrastructure investment. The CDSA 2025 will showcase progress made in the implementation of the Cabinet-approved National Infrastructure Plan 2050 and announce top 12 infrastructure priority projects and a range of other strategic infrastructure projects. This summit will take place from the 25th to the 27th of May 2025. Conference that have been hosted, the Africa Rail Conference. South Africa successfully hosted the 25th Africa Rail Conference, and this took place from the 13th to the 14th of May in Johannesburg, and brought together more than 5,000 delegates from across the continent, including rail operators, governments, and investors in the sector. Cabinet welcomed the engagements on uplifting the continent's rail sector, which is at the heart of efficient and sustainable transportation for both people and goods, as well as stimulating economic growth by enabling the movement of both raw materials and manufactured products. South Africa's rail sector is undergoing its own transformation through reforms aimed at increasing its efficiency and competitiveness. The Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Authorities. South Africa successfully hosted the 15th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Authorities in Cape Town between 5th and 9th May 2025. The conference brought together heads of anti-corruption agencies from across African Commonwealth countries. South Africa was elected to chair the Association of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Commonwealth Africa for the 2025-2026 term. The country's chairpersonship intertwines with its position as the chairperson of the G20 Corruption Working Group, Anti-Corruption Working Group. Commemorations, Africa Month. South Africa has joined the rest of the continent in celebrating Africa Month in May 2025, with special emphasis on Africa Day on the 25th of May 2025. This provides an opportunity to promote the ideal of a united Africa and encourage African countries to work together to improve the lives of our people in line with the ideals of the African Union Agenda 2063 on the economic prosperity of the African continent. Child Protection Month. South Africa marks a Child Protection Month in May under the theme Working Together in Ending Violence Against Children as part of the country's ongoing 365 days Child Protection Program of Action. The month will culminate in Child Protection Week from the 29th of May, to 5th June 2025. All community members, parents, guardians, and teachers are urged to report all forms of abuse, violence, and brutality against children to their local police stations, and children are also encouraged to contact Childline on 0800 055 555. International Day of the Boy Child. South Africa will mark International Day of the Boy Child on 16th May 2025 under the theme Boys, Health and Well-being, highlighting the physical, emotional, mental, and social dimensions of the boy's development. The Department of Basic Education will bring together 3 generations of males to create meaningful dialogue under the theme The Legends, the Youngins, and the Boys, to discuss concrete strategies to support boys' well-being while also mobilizing resources for sustained interventions. Excuse me. Messages of condolences. Cabinet expressed condolences to the families and friends of Constable Qebekhulu Linda, 24, Wipilo Sinoge, 24, Kiamkhetswi Base, 30, who tragically lost their lives in the Henops River. Their bodies were recovered along with that of Jan Mzwane, a groundsman stationed at the Littleton police station, and the person who was yet to be identified. We also extend our condolences to the family friends of Mr. Jan Mzwane. The family of journalist Aserin Ndluli, who have been found following an extensive search since February. 9 people who died in Empangeni, KwaZulu-Natal, following a crash between a truck and a passenger van, and wish speedy recovery to those who were injured. To the family and friends of Elona Sombulula, a young district court prosecutor based in the Ngobo Magistrate Court, who joined the NPA through the Aspirant Prosecutor Program in 2022. He was also acting as the regional court prosecutor at the time of his untimely death, and he died on duty. May their souls rest in peace. On congratulations, Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to sprint sensation, the legend, GOAT, Akani Simbine, who won the 100 meter in 9.9 seconds in the Shanghai Kangyo Diamond League in China. Simbine remains unbeaten over 100 meters this season. Akani Simbine also anchored South Africa's victorious 4x100 meters men's team along with Bayanda Walaza, Sinesipho Dambile, and Bradley Nkwana. They are the first ever African team to win gold at the World Relays in Guangzhou, China, and set the fastest time in the world this year. We also extend our congratulations to the South African women's 4x400 meter relay team led by Sheline Kubuni, Miranda Kutsie, Precious Mulepo, and Zenei van der Walt for winning bronze at the World Relays in Guangzhou, China, and setting a new national record. To the South African 4x400 men's relay team with Zakiti Nene, Udeme Okono, Lithia Pillay, and Tim Tikulu for winning gold at the World Relays in Zhangzhou, China, and setting the fastest time in the world this year. We have been outdoing ourselves. Through these exceptional performances, our national relay teams have secured qualifications for the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo later this year. We also extend our congratulations to the Blitzbokkers for winning the HSBS Sevens World Championship in Los Angeles. We also extend congratulations to the South African Under-20 men's national team for advancing to the semi-finals of the Under-20 African Cup of Nations tournament, while also qualifying for the Under-20 World Cup to be held in September this year. to filmmaker Murena Emmanuel Neshtangani for winning the prestigious Best African Film Award at the World Film Festival at the Cannes in France in his film Rubunyu. Cabinet joined President Cyril Ramaphosa in congratulating Cardinal Robert Prevost on his election as Pope Leo XIV on the 267th Pope of the Catholic Church and leading a 1.4 billion strong Catholic believers. We also extend our congratulations to the renowned activist and lawyer Dumanokwe for posthumously being awarded the title of Silk or Senior Counsel by President Cyril Ramaphosa in recognition of his work and outstanding contribution to our nation. May the soul of Advocate Dumanokwe SC continue to rest in peace, as we are going to be conducting his reburial this Saturday. And unfortunately, Cabinet did not discuss the coordination issues. And thank you.
Excellence in sports indeed, Minister. Thank you very much, Minister. Without taking much time, let me welcome the questions from the House, and also recognize the presence of the acting DG of GCIS, Ms. Nomonde Mnokwa. The drill is the same, colleagues. You will introduce yourself, then in the House, and remember where you're seated, there is a red pin that you have to press, and then it will take your voice. Let me recognize first the hand on my right hand side. There is a hand, and then there is another hand at the back, and then this one. I'll start with this one, that one, and this one, in that order.
Good morning, Minister. I'm Amanda Kwaza from News 24. I have a few questions, Minister. In regards to the 49 Afrikaners that jetted off to the US on Sunday, did Cabinet receive a report either from Jericho or SABC about these people? Who are these people? Where are they going to be resettled in the US? Secondly, on the announcement of the President's working visit to the US that was announced yesterday, what will the South African government be telling the US administration next week? Also, given the perceived hostilities that are directed at South Africa by the US, are you not concerned that President Trump may attempt to embarrass South Africa on the world stage? Who will be part of the delegation, and will any of the GNU opposition ministers be joining you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second question.
Good morning, Minister. Raymond from the Apart Commander, has covered some of the questions, but I just want to know, besides the meeting with President Trump, what will be President Ramaphosa's program? Who else will he meet in the US? And then, the kind of issue, the refugee issue. Do you know when the next group will leave? And do you know how many of them will leave? And lastly, the Cabinet discuss the budget that will be presented in Parliament next week, Wednesday. Is there how many amongst the GNU partners regarding the budget? And are you confident that the budget will pass this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
Minister Pearly Treaty Jones from ENCH. Just wanted to get an update on the Hawks investigation of treason against AfriForum. Do you have maybe an update on that investigation as so far it is? That's number one. Number two, just on the issue of crimes against children and women, murders and rapes, what is government's response to these horrific stories and what must be done? I mean, yesterday we heard of 11-year-old boy Jaden Lee Meek, who was found in an addressed state on the staircase in Swazi's Place complex in Vleerhof. Another stark reminder of the violence against women and children. What's your response on this? And then number three, The third budget, 3.0, there has been concerns around wasteful expenditure, you moving it to the convention center and not the dome. What motivated this move? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. We are also joined by Mpo, our sign language interpreter. Maybe let me invite the minister to take the first set of questions, and we'll take the online questions, Minister.
If you go a stop layer lower, it will help me. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Which one should I start with? The Hawks briefs in terms of the work that they do. So the question around the Hawks investigations must be directed to the Hawks. They will then update yourselves. In terms of the venue of budget, the venue of budget is a decision of Parliament. So that question must also be directed to Parliament. Cabinet, remember the separation of powers. Cabinet does not interfere on the logistics of Parliament. And related to the budget issue, whether Cabinet discussed the budget, yes, we discussed the budget. As usual, we have always discussed the budget, and we have agreed as Cabinet to submit the revised budget 3.0 on the 21st of May 2025 to Parliament, and the scheduled sitting, as you have alluded to. On the what are they called? The trackers. Refugees from citizens to refugees. It's not our job to be briefing on when they are moving. You must go to Mr. Kalikril and AfriForum and Solidarity and that grouping for those updates. We just, our job is to make sure when they leave, they don't leave any debt, they don't leave any crime in the country. And we all know that the reasons that they are leaving are not true. As Cabinet, we expressed a view that there is no refuge. They do not meet the criteria for refugee status. They do not. There is no violence against farmers. And actually, you must also go into that list and check how many of those people are actually farmers, because the argument is that there is genocide against white farmers in South Africa. Somebody has to be committed. He has a problem of explaining the genocide, and we wonder what they will say to the American administration when they do not meet the thousands and thousands of Afrikaner farmers to leave South Africa, and what they will be saying. In fact, they have a difficult task of convening white South Africans about the existence of a genocide. And I think since they claimed that there is a genocide, falsely claimed that there is genocide in South Africa, white South Africans have come in large numbers to show they are part of South Africa. What's the new dances that they're doing in the Amapiano? What are they called? I'm showing my age now. I'm exposing my age. Have you seen how many of those dances are very inclusive? We are now seeing a very united, non-racial, but diverse South Africa. So we must continue in that momentum, and we'll clarify that to the administration. In terms of our expectation, we are not going to the US on our own. We have been invited by President Trump. He is the one who made the public announcement that he is going to meet with us next week. So there is no one who invites a guest to mistreat them. So we are expecting the highest level of decorum and necessary protocols to be accorded. It doesn't mean we'll agree in all matters, we'll differ, but we believe that our relationship with the US is mutually beneficial. There are more than 600 US companies here in the country. Part of their largest automakers are in the country. Part of their biggest electronics and telecoms companies are also big investors in these countries, whether it's Google, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Microsoft. They are here in their huge sizes and they continue to make investment. South African companies are also invested in the US, whether it's Nampak, whether it's with them, there are mining companies, I just forgot their names. They're invested in the US. We've got mutual investments. We also have that which the US will require, the critical minerals, and we have approved the strategy of critical minerals. So our relationship is very mutually beneficial, and that's the focus and of our emphasis. And depending on the time, the president's program will include other meetings, depending on the travel time to and fro, and that program will be articulated by the spokesperson of the president. And on the GBVF, and in particular the rapes and the abuse of children, that's why the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster launched a focused, dedicated 90 days program that is led by Nigerians, with specific focuses of bringing awareness but also mobilizing society, but also making sure that within these 90 days we can improve our response in terms of arrest and prosecution and also the outcomes. And we have noticed that in majority of instances, the children who are victims, there have been a lot of delays in getting their justice. We're still looking for Jocelyn Smith as a country, and we need those cases resolved. That's why the JCPS went to Cabinet, and Cabinet approved a 90-day dedicated program. We are going to bring NetJoins and the JCPS cluster to continuously brief on the progress they are making in terms of the 9 working streams that they have identified and the 16 prioritized actions that they have identified, so that the country can be on board, because we need a whole of society approach. When law enforcement comes to the party, it is reactive. We need to start a proactive mechanism of protecting children. That's why the Department of Basic Education is also leading with the protection of the boy child, but also that's why we are also commemorating Child Protection Month and Child Protection Week, so that we can then enhance our efforts as we implement the National Strategic Plan as agreed 5 years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The challenge you have put of the age, we have Amapiano and we have Bacardi, Minister. Thank you very much. Let me invite, it seems there are follow-up questions, maybe before we go to the online ones. The drill, you'll introduce yourself and the media house, and you can come with the question. Yes, sir.
Madam Minister, you mentioned that South Africa is the 7th most desirable country, and you discussed crime issue in the cabinet. But it appears that crime is on the rise, and especially organized crime. Whether ordinary people or high-level profile, all they experience crime. And also police are closing cases, some cases very quickly, within a week or 2 weeks, despite the cameras all in the malls and everywhere, but police closing the case. So will the government introduce innovative measure to tackle this problem, not just for events like G20, but as a sustained effort to ensure long-term safety? Thank you.
Thank you very much. You say Techman.
Yes.
Techman. Thank you very much. Minister, I'm not sure, should we take... Oh, follow up.
Raymond again. Just for clarity, Minister, do you know who the delegation, who the ministers will be that will accompany President Ramaphosa to the US next week? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me check if there is any other follow-up. No, should we take the ones on online? Thank you very much. Tagalani, online questions?
Thank you, Mr. B. There is 7 questions from online, but all are aligned to the President's visit to the US, and I will only take 3. given that the rest were covered with the previous questions. The first question is coming from Paul Viciato, representing Bloomberg. And the question is, as the cabinet head about the Washington Post reporting that the US government agencies are being prohibited from participating in G20 build-up events. The second question from Stembile from Bloomberg. Can the minister confirm that the president will attend budget virtually given his trip to the US next week? And what will be the last question from Hilary, representing Agence France Presse. And the question is, how important is it for South Africa to have President Trump involved in the G20 summit? And what impact might his participation or not have on South Africa's goals at the event? Thank you.
Thank you very much, TK. Maybe TK, for the record, let's read all the questions, starting with the ones at the top.
Thank you, Mr. B. The two questions that I did not present from Paul, his first question, Paul from Bloomberg. The first one is, what will President Ramaphosa offer President Trump in terms of trade concessions? And the second one, could the minister please give any more details on the delegation that will accompany President Ramaphosa next week? And another question from Stembele from Bloomberg. Is the president at all anxious about the trip, given the recent events around the 49 South Africans granted refugee status and other issues? And the question from Hilary from Agence France Presse, or AFP. As President Cyril Ramaphosa prepares for his upcoming visit to the United States next week, would you share the key outcomes he hopes to achieve during this trip? Thank you.
Thank you very much, TK. Minister, those were a set of questions that we have online.
Thank you for the questions. Let me start with the questions that were raised, follow-up questions that were raised in the House. In terms of crime, we continue to intensify our strategies to deal with crime in the country. There are a number of operations that the police are running, including Operation Shanyela, and it is also for that reason that we also brief on the crime battles that we are having and the achievements thereof at this cabinet briefing. And it's for that reason that the police minister provides statistics on crime. And if you had followed the latest statistics, crime stats as released by the Minister of Police, there have been a decline in crime. Yes, we are seeing a trend in increased in transnational organized crime, and we are working on that. We use technology, and we have not done that for the G20. We have always been on the fight against crime. We use technology, whether it's in areas with cameras. I think government with business, what were they called? The Business Council. They started a long time ago in the mid 2000 to make sure there are installation of cameras across the major cities and the most crime hotspots. We continue with that work, and we're working with, that's why the police have an agreement or memorandum of agreement with security companies, fiscal security companies, to make sure that they are used as force multipliers and use whatever technology it's available. We have enhanced our technology deployment and technology augmentation program to make sure that we can be able to have evidence of crime, but not only evidence of crime, but be able to detect crimes. Part of the national policing policy that Cabinet has just approved is to improve the policing, to make sure that there's responsiveness, there is police stations, there's sufficient capacity that is required, that you will not call for a police car, for police to come out and they take forever, they'll respond immediately. That's what that policy is dealing with. And that is not meant for the G20, that is meant to make sure South Africans are safe and they feel safe where they reside. We want South Africans to be able to walk the street irrespective of the day, of the time of day, and feeling safely. We want South Africans and those who visit South Africa to have no-go and to have a no-go areas where they cannot. We should not have any areas where they cannot not go because they are afraid of crimes. We want our townships to be safe and not to be havens of crimes. We want the informal settlements. That's part of the work that the Department of Human Settlements is doing. We want the informal settlements to be arranged in such a manner that crime cannot take place unpunished and unprosecuted. We want the informal settlements to be free of crime and to also be safe spaces in the country. In terms of the delegation to the US, the president will announce the delegation, and you want me to commit career limiting moves. That's the trip of the president. The president has the sole prerogative to announce his delegation. In terms of the trade concessions, how will they be? How will it be diplomatic engagements if we announce the package we plan to offer or engage the US on? I think we must leave other things into the purview of the diplomatic protocols. So, but as the president has indicated, there will be a deal. They will offer a package. We will negotiate a package, and that package will be a package that is also beneficial to South Africa. We cannot work against the interest of South Africa and its people. You asked also, there was a question of whether we're at all worried. We're not worried. We are confident that the invitation comes from a good place of intending an engagement, clarification, and a mechanism of finding engagement. And that invitation comes because South Africa is an important player in the global forum, and that's why we are invited at this stage, at this time that we are invited to go through that trip. So we expect a very cordial discussions, and as I've said previously, it doesn't mean there will not be differences. And there's no one person or one country which is entitled to differ more than the other. Where we differ, we'll also differ. South Africa has over the years demonstrated that we are a sovereign state, and we respect our sovereignty and we take it very seriously. You remember that our president has committed that we will not be bullied. We remain in that mode. The president will attend. The president will attend the budget virtually, because he would have wished to attend physically, but unfortunately, the date of the meeting coincides with the date of the tabling of the budget. And the good thing with our parliament, they provide for hybrid sessions, and the president will join in that hybrid platform. Should there be ministers with him in the delegation, they will also join it through the hybrid platform of Parliament, because we'll all need to vote for the budget. Before I move, is there any question that I have not answered, more especially from the ones from the virtual platform, Takarani?
Thank you, Minister. I think all the questions are answered, apart from if you can give me the permission just to present one that came when I was presenting others from Simon inside politics, but in the same line. And the question is saying, can you share the progress of the investigations into the misinformation against leaders of AfriForum and Solidarity, which led to the executive order by the US President? Thank you.
Thank you. As I've already responded to that question, that question must be directed to the Hawks, as they're the ones who are investigating it, in terms of the question. So that should be clarified in terms of that. and allow Mr. Kali Krill to worry about how he's going to convince white South Africans that there is genocide, and how he's going to explain to the US administration why the thousands and thousands of white farmers and white are not becoming. Somebody send me a message. If it's out of order, it's not me. I'm just reading. They're explaining what it's called. It's called a great stack, and they are 4 seconds. It's not me. Somebody just sent me text, so I'm just reading what is sent. Thank you very much, and we want to wish you the best in the rest of the week. And this weekend we bury one of the biggest contributors for the freedom of the struggle, Secretary General, now Advocate Duma Nokwe, and his wife. And we hold there will be a memorial service, and he has been accorded posthumously a silk status. So can we, as we confront the challenges of our country, can we remember the contribution of those who fought for our freedom? Thank you very much.
Minister, thank you very much for the responses that you have given. I think colleagues were very interested in all the questions that repeated themselves, and you've answered them well. Colleagues, thank you very much.
There's one question. Sorry, my
Okay.
apologies. My apologies. There was one question of whether we have received any confirmation from the US or White House on a ban by its agencies to work on events related to the G20. Let me explain the process. We've got sous Sherpas and Sherpas. That information would have come through. We have not received any communication from the US administration about such a ban. We are reading it from the media like everybody else. There's not been any official communication to ourselves. We have not seen any official communication from the US administration. In terms of the newspaper articles that you are quoting, they've also said from inside sources, and you know the problem with sources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, on that note, let me also take this opportunity to thank you very much for coming, and the media briefing has come to an end, and the session is now adjourned. Have a great day.
We're going to be interested in. I'm just doing the corrections.